The courtroom was silent, eerily so. Only the soft shuffle of papers and the echo of restrained breathing filled the air. At the center sat Judge Richard Wallace, a man known for his stern judgments and emotionless demeanor. His sultan pepper hair matched the cold marble walls that framed his courtroom. He had presided over hundreds of cases, but today's felt different, though he couldn't explain why. Before him stood Maya Johnson, a weary black woman in the mid-40s. Her eyes tired yet proud. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the hem of her worn floral dress. Beside her stood her twin children, Marcus and Mariah Johnson, both 22, tall, poised, and unmistakably protective of their mother. The charge was simple. On paper, at least, fraud, a mix-up with government aid and unpaid rent that the landlord claimed was intentional. But the truth, as the twins would soon make clear, ran much deeper than the lines inked on the official complaint. "Mrs. Johnson," Judge Wallace began, his voice cold but measured, "you stand accused of falsifying income documents and withholding rent payments for 6 months. Do you have legal representation?" Maya glanced nervously at her twins. Marcus stepped forward. "Your Honor, we'll be representing her," he said confidently. The courtroom murmured in surprise. The twins were young, but the way Marcus carried himself, his clean suit, his sharp diction commanded respect. "You're both licensed attorneys?" the judge asked skeptically. "Maria Nadad." "Yes, Your Honor. We graduated from Harvard Law last year." For a brief moment, something flickered in Judge Wallace's eyes. Pride. Nostalgia. He quickly masked it. "Very well. Proceed," Marcus began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Your Honor, my mother isn't a criminal. She's a woman who worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads. She never lied to gain anything, only to survive." Mariah continued. "When our father left, she was pregnant alone, heartbroken, and broke. She never spoke ill of him, never even told us his name. She wanted us to grow up without bitterness." Judge Wallace's brow furrowed slightly. Something about their words struck a chord deep within him, something he didn't want to confront. Maya looked down, her fingers twisting together nervously. As the twins laid out their defense, the courtroom transformed from a place of law into a place of truth. Marcus produced old records, hospital bills, rent receipts, and letters showing how Maya had begged for leniency. "She didn't falsify anything," Marcus said, his voice cracking. "She simply wrote her expected wages on the form, not realizing her boss had cut her hours." The judge leaned back, tapping his pen against the desk. He looked at Maya carefully. "Mrs. Johnson, where is the father of your children?" The room went still. Maya froze. Marcus's jaw tightened. Mariah glanced at her mother, then back at the judge. Maya took a deep breath. "He's gone, Your Honor. Left when I told him I was pregnant. Said he wasn't ready to raise black kids. I never saw him again." The words hung heavy in the air. The judge's heart stopped for a beat. Judge Wallace's hand trembled slightly as he shuffled his papers. He had been a young man, once reckless, ambitious, and selfish. He remembered a summer, decades ago, when he had fallen for a beautiful black woman named Maya. She had worked as a waitress near his college. They had shared nights filled with laughter, whispered promises, and dreams of a future that never came. And then he had left. No note, no goodbye, only guilt that he buried in the law school, career, and the walls of his courtroom. Now, staring at the twins before him, Marcus with his sharp jawline, Mariah with her bright eyes, he saw himself, the shape of their smiles, the slope of their noses, the way they spoke with conviction. Te worries. The gavel felt like it weighed a ton in his hand. He wanted to speak, but the words wouldn't come. He cleared his throat, struggling to maintain composure. I see," he muttered. "Please proceed." Mariah stepped forward. "Your Honor, our mother raised us without a penny of support. She taught us to study hard, to believe in justice even when justice turned its back on people like us. She taught us to forgive, even when it's hard." Her voice trembled as tears filled her eyes. "She doesn't deserve to be here like a criminal. She deserves peace." The judge's vision blurred. He blinked hard, pretending to check the file. But his mind was somewhere else, back to that night when he told Maya he couldn't handle it, that society would never accept them, that he had to think of his future. And now his future stood right in front of him, defending the woman he'd broken. "Your Honor," Marcus said quietly, his tone softening. "You asked where our father is. Truth is, we don't need him anymore. Mom gave us everything he didn't love, discipline, and faith. We're only here to protect her, just like she's protected us our whole lives." Silence fell again. Judge Wallace couldn't breathe. His chest felt tight, his throat dry. He wanted to tell them the truth, that their father hadn't died, hadn't disappeared. He had simply chosen cowardice. He looked at Maya. Her eyes met his for the first time, and he saw recognition, pain, then understanding. She knew. When the proceedings paused for a recess, Judge Wallace fled to his chambers. He stared at his reflection in the mirror, aged, lined with regret. "What have I done?" he whispered. For 22 years, he'd told himself it was better that way, that she'd move on, that his absence spared them the pain of a mixed family in a cruel world. But now, looking at the twins so brilliant, so strong, he saw that his absence had only made their climb harder. And yet, they hadn't become bitter. They had become extraordinary. When he returned to the bench, the courtroom stood. His voice, though shaky, carried weight. "After reviewing the evidence, I sighed slowly. I find no grounds for criminal intent. The charges against Mrs. Johnson are dismissed." Gasps filled the room. Maya covered her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. Marcus put an arm around her shoulders. But the judge wasn't done. He removed his glasses and looked at them not as a judge, but as a man stripped bare of pride. "Before we adjourn, I sighed softly. I owe this family something, an apology." Maya's eyes widened. Marcus frowned, confused. The judge continued, his voice trembling. "Years ago, I made a mistake. I walked away from a woman I loved and the children I never knew. I've lived without regret every day since. And today, in this courtroom, I saw what my absence cost you." Tears ran down his face. "Marcus, Mariah, Maya, I'm sorry. I was your father. I am your father." The entire courtroom gasped. Maya clutched the table, sobbing silently. Marcus froze in disbelief. Mariah's lips parted, her voice barely a whisper. You left us?" Judge Wallace nodded, breaking down. "Yes. And I've hated myself for it. You didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve me." Marcus's fists clenched, his jaw tight with anger. "You think sorry fixes 22 years of pain?" "No," the judge said. "Nothing can fix it, but I'm here now. If you'll let me, I want to try to be something, even if it's too late." Maya turned to her children, her voice shaking. "He's done terrible things, but hatred won't heal us. Forgiveness will." Marcus looked at her, then at the man who had abandoned them. His anger softened, replaced by something heavier, grief. He nodded slowly. "We'll see, Judge. We'll see." As they walked out of the courtroom, Maya leaned on her twins. She didn't look back, but she knew he was watching. Judge Wallace sat alone on the bench, long after the courtroom emptied, staring at the family he'd lost and the forgiveness he didn't deserve. For the first time in decades, he removed his robe not as a judge, but as a man finally facing his own verdict.